Perfect. Your lake house is empty all year. We're moving in. The lake house is empty anyway, and we need a place to stay. We're moving in tomorrow. My cousin Mark's voice through the phone was casual, as if he wasn't announcing his plan to commandeer my property. Perfect timing too, since you're never there. I gripped my coffee mug tighter, staring out my office window at the Seattle skyline. At 35, I'd spent the last decade building my software consulting business, and the lake house was my sanctuary away from the city. Mark, I said calmly, that's not how this works. The lake house isn't available. His laugh crackled through the speaker. Come on, James, don't be selfish. Sarah and I lost our lease, and the kids need stability. You're never even there. It's just sitting empty. What kind of family are you? I closed my eyes, remembering all the times Mark had pulled this kind of stunt. Growing up, he was always the entitled one, expecting everyone to accommodate his needs while giving nothing in return. Now at 38, married with 3 kids, he hadn't changed a bit. My answer is no, I said firmly. The lake house is private property, Mark. You can't just move in. Too late, he replied, his tone shifting from casual to smug. Sarah and the kids are already unpacking. I'm heading there now with the last load. Don't worry, we'll take good care of the place. The line went dead before I could respond. I sat there staring at my phone in disbelief. Then I opened my laptop and pulled up the security camera feed from the lake house. Sure enough, there was Sarah directing their 3 children as they carried boxes onto my porch. My pristine, peaceful lake house was being invaded. I'd bought the property 2 years ago after landing a major contract. Located on Lake Chilin, it was my escape from the pressures of running a growing tech consultancy. The 3-bedroom cabin sat on 2 acres of waterfront land, with a private dock and stunning mountain views. I'd spent months renovating it, creating the perfect retreat. Now my cousins were treating it like their personal solution to poor planning. I picked up my phone again, this time calling Sarah directly. She answered on the 4th ring, sounding breathless. James, I was wondering when you'd call. The house is beautiful, you've done amazing things with it. Sarah, I cut in, keeping my voice level. You need to pack everything up and leave. Now, don't be ridiculous, she said, her tone hardening. We have nowhere else to go. Mark said you'd be fine with it. You're always saying family should help family. I ran a hand through my hair, frustration building. That's not what this is. You can't just break into someone's house and claim squatters' rights. This is illegal. Break in. She laughed. Mark has a key. He said you gave it to him last summer for emergencies. The key I'd given him when he offered to check on the place during a storm. The key he was supposed to return but never did. Of course, that key wasn't permission to move in. I said, I'm calling the police if you're not out by tonight. You wouldn't. Sarah gasped. These are your nieces and nephew. Where's your heart, James? We're family. Family. They always played that card when it suited them. But where was family when I was working 80-hour weeks to build my business? Where was family when I needed help renovating the lake house? You have until 6 p.m., I said firmly. After that, I'm reporting this as a break-in. I ended the call and immediately dialed my lawyer, Michael Zhang. He'd helped me with the property purchase and knew the local laws inside out. They did what? Michael asked after I explained the situation. No, they can't just move in because they have a key. That's trespassing at minimum. Want me to send a formal notice? Yes, I replied, but also tell me what else I can do to protect myself. I have a feeling this isn't going to be simple. While Michael worked on the legal documentation, I checked the security feeds again. Mark had arrived, his SUV packed with furniture. I watched as they carried in a couch, several beds, even a dining room table. They were really planning to stay. My phone buzzed with a text from my sister Emma. What's wrong with you? Mark and Sarah need help, and you're threatening to call the cops. Mom's crying. Of course they'd already started spreading their version of events. I typed back. They broke into my house and are moving in without permission. Would you be okay with that? Emma's response was quick. They didn't break in, they have a key. Stop being dramatic. They lost their lease and need somewhere to stay. You're never even there. I muted the conversation. More messages were coming in from other family members, all taking Mark and Sarah's side without bothering to hear mine. Typical. At 5:30 p.m., I received an email from Michael with the legal notice attached. I forwarded it to both Mark and Sarah, then called the local police department's non-emergency line to give them a heads up about the situation. "We can send officers out if you want to file a formal complaint," the dispatcher said. "But you might want to try talking to them first, since they're family." "I've tried," I replied. "They're not listening. I'll give them until 6 p.m. to respond to the legal notice. Then I'd like to file that complaint." At 5:55 p.m., Mark called. "Real nice, James," he sneered. "Threatening us with lawyers. What kind of person sends legal notices to family? The kind whose family is trying to steal their property." I shot back. "Are you leaving, or do I need to escalate this?" "We're not leaving," he said firmly. "You want to play hardball? Fine. But remember, you started this. Don't cry to me when the whole family turns against you." I ended the call and dialed the police. While I waited for them to arrive, I watched through the security cameras as Mark and Sarah continued unpacking, acting as if they had every right to be there. The officers arrived at 6:30 p.m. I patched into the front door camera's audio feed to listen. "Sir, ma'am," the first officer said, "we've received a complaint from the property owner. You need to leave the premises." "The owner is my cousin," Mark protested. "He's just being difficult. We have a key. He gave it to us. Having a key doesn't grant you the right to occupy the property," the second officer explained. "Unless you have a lease or written permission from the owner, this is trespassing." "But we've already moved everything in," Sarah cried. "We have nowhere else to go. Our children need a home." "Ma'am, I understand you're in a difficult situation," the first officer said, "but you can't just move into someone's house without permission. You need to leave now, or we'll have to remove you." I watched as Mark and Sarah argued with the officers for another 20 minutes before finally agreeing to leave. They spent the next 2 hours loading everything back into their vehicles, making sure to slam doors and drop things carelessly on the porch. Just before they left, Mark looked directly into the security camera. "Hope you're happy, cousin. You'll regret this." Once they were gone, I called a locksmith to change all the locks and update the security system. I also asked Michael to draft a formal cease and desist letter, copying all relevant family members to ensure everyone understood the legal situation. The family backlash was immediate and fierce. My phone exploded with angry messages. "Mom, I raised you better than this. How could you make family homeless? Emma, you're dead to me. Hope your precious lake house keeps you warm at night. Aunt Linda, shame on you. Your cousins have children. Uncle Pete, your father would be so disappointed in you." I muted them all. They didn't know, miss, or care about the full story. They didn't know how Mark and Sarah had lost their lease because they'd failed to pay rent for 3 months, spending the money on a luxury vacation instead. They didn't know about the 3 previous apartments they'd been evicted from, or the string of relatives they'd taken advantage of over the years. The next morning, I drove out to the lake house to assess any damage. The place was a mess. Muddy footprints on the floors, scratches on the walls from moving furniture, food left out in the kitchen. But at least nothing was stolen or seriously damaged. As I cleaned up, my phone rang again. This time it was my grandmother, the family matriarch. I almost didn't answer, but Gran had always been different from the rest of them. She'd supported my decision to start my own business, when everyone else said I was crazy to leave a stable corporate job. "James," she said when I answered, her voice warm but firm, "tell me your side of the story." So I did. I told her everything. How Mark and Sarah had assumed they could just take over my property. How they'd used the emergency key without permission. How they'd tried to manipulate the situation by involving the whole family. Gran listened quietly, then sighed. "You did the right thing," she said, surprising me. "Mark and Sarah need to learn they can't keep taking advantage of people. The rest of the family enables them, but that doesn't make it right." "Thanks, Gran," I said, feeling a weight lift from my shoulders. "That means a lot." "Don't let them guilt you," she continued. "You worked hard for that lake house. You have every right to protect what's yours." After we hung up, I sat on the dock, watching the sunset reflect off the lake's surface. The peace I usually felt here was tainted by recent events, but I knew it would return. I'd built my life on my own terms, and I wasn't about to let anyone, Prince's family or not miss, take advantage of that. My phone buzzed with a text from Michael. Got word Mark and Sarah are trying to claim tenant rights since they moved in. Want me to handle it? I texted back, yes, whatever it takes to protect the property. The next few days were a blur of legal paperwork and family drama. Mark and Sarah tried to argue they had established residency by moving in their belongings, but Michael shut that down quickly. They then attempted to claim they had a verbal agreement with me, which fell apart when I produced the security footage showing their forced entry. The rest of the family continued their campaign of guilt and manipulation. Emma posted a long rant on social media about wealthy relatives who care more about property than family. Mom left tearful voicemails about how I was tearing the family apart. Uncle Pete threatened to write me out of his will, which was laughable, considering he'd already remortgaged his house 3 times to bail out Mark's failed business ventures. But I stood firm. The lake house wasn't just a property. It was a symbol of everything I'd worked for, every long night and missed weekend, every risk I'd taken to build my business. I wasn't going to let anyone take that away, especially not relatives who had never supported my dreams in the first place. A week after the incident, I received an unexpected visit at my office. It was Sarah, alone this time, looking considerably less confident than she had at the lake house. Can we talk? She asked, hovering in the doorway. I gestured to the chair across from my desk, curious about what brought her here. I wanted to apologize, she said, surprising me. We shouldn't have tried to move in without asking. It was wrong. I leaned back in my chair, studying her face. What brought on this change of heart? She sighed, looking down at her hands. Gran came to see us. She made us see how unreasonable we've been. Not just with the lake house, but with everything. We've been taking advantage of family for years, always expecting everyone to bail us out. And Mark? I asked. Does he share this revelation? Sarah's expression tightened. Mark is Mark. He's still angry, but I'm trying to make him understand that we need to start taking responsibility for our own lives. I nodded, appreciating her honesty but remaining cautious. I hope you do, but you understand why I can't just forget what happened. I know, she said, standing up. I just wanted you to know that at least one of us realizes we were wrong. After she left, I sat thinking about family, responsibility, and the boundaries we sometimes need to set, even with people we love. The lake house situation had forced a long overdue confrontation with patterns of entitlement and enabling that had plagued our family for years. My phone buzzed with a message from Gran. Heard Sarah came to see you. Baby steps, James. Baby steps. I smiled, grateful for her wisdom and support. Maybe this whole mess would lead to some positive changes after all. The fallout from the lake house incident continued to ripple through the family over the next few weeks. While Sarah's apology had been a start, Mark was escalating his campaign against me in increasingly concerning ways. It started with small things. Negative reviews appearing on my company's social media pages from obviously fake accounts. Mysterious cancellations of my service appointments at the lake house, and strange deliveries I never ordered showing up at my office. Then one Tuesday morning, my assistant Daniel rushed into my office, looking worried. James, you need to see this. He pulled up a local real estate website on my computer screen. There it was, my lake house, listed for sale at well below market value. The listing agent was listed as Mark Anderson, my cousin. He can't actually sell it, Daniel said quickly, seeing my expression. I already checked, he's not the owner of record, but he's already scheduled an open house for this weekend. I picked up my phone to call Michael, but before I could dial, another message came through, this time from my security system at the lake house. Motion detected at the front door. I pulled up the camera feed just in time to see Mark leading a group of people, potential buyers, through my front door. How the hell did he get back in? I muttered, then noticed the familiar face among the group. My mother. She must have given him her emergency key. I called the police immediately, then watched through the security cameras as Mark conducted an impromptu house tour, speaking confidently about features and pricing, as if he had every right to be there. And as you can see, His voice came clearly through the audio feed. This property has amazing potential. The current owner has barely touched it, but with some real vision you could transform this into a true luxury retreat. Barely touched it. I'd spent hundreds of thousands on renovations, each detail carefully planned and executed. The blood pounded in my ears as I watched him lead the group through my home, casually dismissing all my work. The police arrived 20 minutes later. This time, they weren't as patient with Mark's explanations about family property and verbal agreements. When he tried to argue, they threatened to arrest him for criminal trespassing and attempted fraud. As the potential buyers quickly departed, and Mark was escorted off the property, I saw my mother lingering behind. She looked directly into the security camera, her expression a mixture of disappointment and defiance. "You forced him to do this," she said to the camera. "If you just helped your cousin like a proper family member, none of this would be happening." I turned off the feed, unable to watch anymore. My phone was already ringing. Michael calling about the fraudulent listing. "We can shut down the listing easily enough," he said. "But James, this is getting serious. Your cousin is moving from simple trespassing into criminal territory. We need to consider getting a restraining order." "Do it," I said, rubbing my temples, "and send a formal letter to my mother revoking her emergency access. I can't trust her anymore." "Consider it done. Also, I've been doing some digging since this started. You might want to know what I found about your cousin's financial situation." Michael's digging revealed what I'd suspected. Mark and Sarah were in far worse shape than they'd admitted. 3 evictions in 2 years, multiple defaulted loans, and a string of failed business ventures, funded by family members who were now facing their own financial difficulties because of him. "He's been targeting elderly relatives," Michael explained, convincing them to take out loans or reverse mortgages to invest in his schemes. "Your Uncle Pete remortgaged his house 3 times before the bank cut him off." "That explains why Pete's been so angry about the lake house," I said. "He probably promised it to his bank as collateral for another loan." "Exactly. Mark's been telling everyone the lake house would be his safety net. Some of your relatives actually believed he had a legitimate claim to it." After hanging up with Michael, I drove out to the lake house to change the locks again and check for any damage. As I pulled up to the gate, I noticed a familiar car parked on the road. Gran's old Cadillac. She was sitting on the porch swing when I walked up, a stern expression on her face. "We need to talk about your mother," she said without preamble. I sat down beside her, the swing creaking slightly under our combined weight. "She gave Mark her emergency key." "I know. She's been enabling him for years, convinced she's helping." Gran shook her head. "But this time she's gone too far. She could face legal consequences for helping him try to sell property he doesn't own." "I don't want to press charges against my own mother," I said quietly. "No one's asking you to. But James, you need to understand something. This isn't just about the lake house anymore. Mark is dragging this whole family down with his schemes, and your mother is helping him do it." Gran pulled out a folder from her bag and handed it to me. Inside were bank statements, loan documents, and legal notices, all showing how deeply Mark had entangled various family members in his financial web. "Pete's about to lose his house," she continued. "Emma remortgaged her salon to lend Mark money for his latest venture. Even your cousin Tommy's college fund was drained after your Aunt Linda gave Mark access to it." I flipped through the documents, feeling sick. "How did you get all this?" "I've been gathering evidence ever since Mark tried to convince me to take out a reverse mortgage on my house. Said he had a guaranteed investment opportunity that would triple my money in 6 months." Gran's voice was hard. "I may be old, but I'm not stupid. That's when I started paying attention to what he was doing to the rest of the family." "Why are you showing me this?" "Because you're the only one who's stood up to him. The only one who's refused to buy into his manipulation. And now he's trying to destroy you for it." I leaned back, processing everything. "What do you think I should do?" "Take the legal action your lawyer suggested. Get the restraining order. Show the family all of this evidence. It's time someone stopped Mark before he ruins everyone who tries to help him." Just then my phone buzzed with a text from Sarah. We need to talk. Can I come by your office tomorrow? It's important. I showed the message to Gran, who nodded slowly. Talk to her. She might be ready to break free from Mark's influence. But be careful, Ma. This could also be another manipulation. The next day, Sarah arrived at my office looking nervous and exhausted. She sat down heavily in the visitor's chair, her hands twisting in her lap. Mark doesn't know I'm here, she began. He's not the same person anymore. The Mark one married would never have tried to illegally sell someone's house or harass his own family. What changed? I asked, though I suspected I knew the answer. Money, debt. He's gotten in so deep with some people, dangerous people. That's why he's so desperate to get control of the lake house. He promised it as collateral for a loan, told them it was his inheritance. I leaned forward. Sarah, that's fraud. I know. She burst into tears. I've tried to stop him, but he won't listen. He's convinced himself that you're the problem, that if you just give him the lake house, everything would be fine. But it wouldn't be. He'd just lose that too, like he's lost everything else. Why are you telling me this now? She wiped her eyes, straightening in her chair. Because I found this in his office. She pulled out a stack of papers, forged documents showing Mark as the owner of my lake house, complete with fake signatures and notary stamps. He's planning to try selling it again, isn't he? I asked, examining the forgeries. Sarah nodded. To multiple buyers. He's already collected deposits from 3 different people. When I confronted him about it, he wasn't the man I married anymore. The look in his eyes scared me. I sat back, considering my next move. Sarah, I need to turn these documents over to my lawyer. This is serious criminal fraud. I know, she whispered. That's why I brought them to you. The kids and I are staying with my sister in Portland. I can't watch him destroy himself and everyone around him anymore. After Sarah left, I called Michael and Gran, conferencing them together to discuss our next steps. Mark's actions had moved beyond family drama into criminal territory, and we needed to act fast before more people got hurt. We need to inform the authorities, Michael said. These forged documents combined with the fraudulent listing and deposits constitute serious criminal charges. Will Sarah cooperate? Gran asked. She seems willing, I replied. She's already removed herself and the kids from the situation. Good, Gran said firmly. Because what's coming next won't be pretty. She was right. The next few days unleashed a storm that would change our family forever. The storm broke 3 days after Sarah's visit to my office. I was in a meeting when the text started flooding in my mind. Mark had been arrested while trying to close a fraudulent sale of my lake house to an undercover investigator. My mother called 17 times in the span of an hour. I let each call go to voicemail, focusing instead on the email from Michael detailing what had happened. Mark attempted to close a sale with falsified documents. The buyer was actually working with the fraud division. They found evidence of multiple deposit collections and forged paperwork. He's facing serious charges. Your mother was present at the attempted closing and may be questioned as a potential accomplice. Gran called next. Unlike the others, I answered her call. It's chaos, she said without preamble. Your mother is hysterical, claiming you set Mark up. Emma's organizing a family fund for his legal defense. They still don't understand what he's done. I rubbed my temples. Did they find the money from the deposits? Gone, Gran replied grimly. Apparently he's been paying off some very unsavory characters. Sarah was right about that part. The investigation revealed the full scope of Mark's schemes. He'd collected over $200,000 in deposits from various potential buyers, all for my lake house. He'd used forged documents to take out loans in family members' names. The web of financial fraud stretched back years. That evening I received an unexpected visitor at my condo. Emma stood at my door, her face tear-streaked but determined. Why didn't you warn us? She demanded, pushing past me into the living room. You knew what Mark was doing. You could have stopped this before it went so far. I closed the door, keeping my voice calm. Would you have believed me? You didn't even believe me when he broke into my house. She sank onto my couch, deflating slightly. I lost my salon because of him. The loan I took out, I can't make the payments. The bank is foreclosing next month. I know, I said, sitting across from her. Gran showed me the documents. Gran knew too. Emma looked up, fresh tears forming. Why didn't anyone tell me? We tried, Emma. Every time anyone questioned Mark's actions, the family attacked him. You wrote that social media post about me being heartless for not letting him take my lake house. Did you ever stop to ask why he needed it so badly? She was quiet for a long moment. Mom's being questioned by the police. They think she knowingly helped him commit fraud. Did she? Emma's silence was answer enough. The next day I visited Mark in jail. He sat across from me in his orange jumpsuit, looking both defiant and desperate. Come to gloat, he spat. No, I replied calmly. I came to understand why. Was it worth it, Mark, destroying the family like this? I didn't destroy anything. You did with your selfish refusal to help family. If you'd just given me the lake house, you'd have lost it too. I cut in. Just like you lost everything else. The difference is you'd have taken my asset instead of stealing from our elderly relatives. His face twisted. They invested in me willingly. They trusted you, I corrected. And you betrayed that trust. Now Uncle Pete is losing his house. Emma's losing her salon and Mom might face criminal charges. That's on you, Mark. They'll forgive me, he said. But there was uncertainty in his voice. Family forgives. Not this time, I replied, standing up. Some things can't be fixed with manipulation and guilt trips. As I turned to leave, he called out, Sarah left me. Can you blame her? I asked without turning around. She chose to protect your children from watching their father self-destruct. The family split into factions after Mark's arrest. Some, like Emma and Uncle Pete, finally faced the reality of his actions once they couldn't deny their own losses anymore. Others, led by my mother, remained convinced that Mark was the victim of circumstances and unforgiving relatives. Sarah filed for divorce the following week. She sent me a long email explaining her decision. I enabled him for too long, making excuses for his behavior and helping him manipulate others. Our children deserve better than to grow up thinking that's normal. Thank you for being strong enough to stand up to him. When the rest of us couldn't, Gran organized a family meeting at her house, inviting only those who were ready to deal with the truth. 8 of us showed up. Myself, Emma, Uncle Pete, Sarah, and a few cousins who'd escaped Mark's financial schemes. We need to rebuild, Gran said, looking around the room. Not just our bank accounts, but our understanding of what family really means. It's not about enabling harmful behavior or surrendering boundaries. It's about supporting each other in healthy ways. I might lose my house, Uncle Pete said quietly. The loans Mark convinced me to take out. I have a proposal, I said, pulling out a folder of documents. I've been working with Michael to create a family trust. I'm putting the lake house in it along with some other assets. The trust will help family members who were defrauded by Mark rebuild their finances, with proper oversight and legal protections. Emma looked up sharply. You'd do that, after how we treated you? Family forgives, I said, echoing Mark's words but giving them new meaning. But forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting the lessons we've learned. The healing process would be long and complicated. Some relationships, like the one with my mother, might never fully recover. But sitting in Gran's living room, watching my relatives begin to understand the difference between enabling and supporting, I felt hope for the first time since this all began. We're stronger now, Gran said, squeezing my hand. Sometimes it takes a storm to clear the air. 1 year later, the lake house looked different in the morning light, transformed not by any physical changes, but by the weight of everything that had happened. I stood on the dock watching the sunrise reflect off the water, as cars began pulling up to the property. Today marked the first annual family gathering since Mark's sentencing. He'd received 5 years in prison for fraud, with additional restitution orders to repay his victims. My mother, who'd eventually pleaded guilty to lesser charges of aiding in the fraud, was serving probation and attending mandatory counseling. Emma's SUV was the first to arrive. Her salon, saved by the family trust, was now thriving under new management practices she'd learned in business courses. The trust had helped her refinance, rather than lose everything. Still feels strange, she said, joining me on the dock. Being here without guilt or manipulation. Just family. Uncle Pete arrived next with Gran. The trust had helped him keep his house, though he'd had to downsize significantly. He'd started teaching woodworking classes in his garage, finding unexpected joy in sharing his skills with others. Sarah came with the kids, who ran straight for the tire swing I'd installed last summer. Her divorce from Mark was final, and she'd found work as a compliance officer at a local bank. Her way of making amends, she'd said, was helping prevent others from falling victim to financial fraud. Hard to believe it's been a year, Sarah said, accepting the coffee I offered. The kids are finally stopping asking when Dad's coming home. More family members arrived. Cousins, aunts, uncles, but only those who'd committed to the new boundaries we'd established. Those who still enabled Mark's behavior, like my mother, weren't invited. It was a harsh line, but a necessary one. Gran gathered everyone on the large deck I'd built for occasions like this. Before we start our celebration, she announced, I want to acknowledge how far we've come. A year ago we were broken by betrayal and enablement. Today we're stronger because we learned the difference between helping and hurting. The family trust had done more than just provide financial assistance. It had become a framework for teaching financial responsibility and healthy boundaries. Every family member who received help had to take financial management courses and contribute to group support sessions. James' Uncle Pete called out, show them the new addition. I led the group to the boathouse, recently converted into a family meeting space. The walls displayed photos of family achievements over the past year. Emma's salon reopening, Uncle Pete's first woodworking class, Sarah's college graduation. But the centerpiece was a framed quote. Family is built on trust, strengthened by boundaries and sustained by love. This is our new legacy, Gran said proudly. Not the enablement and manipulation of the past, but support with responsibility. Later, as everyone enjoyed the barbecue and lake activities, I found a quiet moment to read a letter that had arrived from Mark the day before. I understand now what you tried to tell me. Prison gives you time to think. I see how I hurt everyone who tried to help me. I don't expect forgiveness, but I want you to know, you did the right thing. Take care of them better than I did. I folded the letter and looked out at my family. Really looked at them. Emma teaching her daughter to paddleboard. Uncle Pete showing the kids how to bait a hook. Sarah laughing at Gran's stories. They were healing, growing, learning. The lake house was no longer just my sanctuary. It had become a symbol of recovery and renewal. A place where family meant something different than it had before. Something healthier. Next year will be even better, Gran said, appearing beside me. Because now we know who we really are. I smiled watching the sunset paint the lake in shades of gold. She was right. We'd weathered the storm and emerged stronger, wiser, and more united than ever. Not despite our boundaries, but because of them. The lake house stood as a testament to standing firm when it matters most, and to the power of true family support, the kind that builds up, rather than enables, that strengthens rather than weakens. As the day wound down, and families began to leave, each carrying leftovers and memories, I knew we'd finally found the balance we'd been missing all along. The balance between love and limits, between helping and enabling, between family loyalty and personal boundaries. This was our new beginning. The end.